What's up, guys? It's me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and welcome to another episode of NFL Matchups. As usual, we have tons in store for this episode. We're going to talk about what happened and what we learned this past week in the National Football League. And then we're going to move on over to my Real or Not segment and then followed up with my Week 9 predictions and previews and closing out this show with my fantasy impacts. So, you guys are in the right place for NFL news and talk, so sit back and relax and enjoy the episode. This is Clutch Sports Talk, NFL Matchups with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go.
We're going to be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, baby.
Welcome back to the episode. And as usual, if you haven't already, subscribe to the Grid Network YouTube channel, man. We appreciate all of your support. And let's get this episode underway. Okay, what we learned this past week in the National Football League, we will start kind of a little backwards here. We'll go with the Sunday night matchup. The Dallas Cowboys fell again to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe they're like 0-4 in their last 4 matchups, if I'm not mistaken. Cowboys coming off a bye week. I will say this, initially in the first quarter, maybe first half, I would say I'll give them some credit. They looked actually prepared for once, but in the end, the Niners were just too much for them, and the Cowboys struggled and they lose again. And then on top of that, they were coming off of a 38-point loss at home going into the bye to the Lions, and then they come back on the road, open up with San Francisco, and you just don't get the job done. Now, a lot of people will say in Cowboy Nation, listen, it's a culmination of a lot of things: injuries, poor coaching, the ultimate setup of the team. Either way, this is not a good football team. It's apparent this is not a good football team. It's not coached very well offensively or defensively, no matter who's in the who's in the lineup there. It doesn't really matter. And now I believe they were third in the standings, and they're about 2.5 games behind the Eagles and the Washington Commanders, who pulled off that miraculous Hail Mary completion to beat the Bears this past Sunday. But they're really looking up, and the gap, and honestly, it's 2.5 or 2 games. It might as well be 10 games, because the way Philly is starting to figure things out, obviously Washington is doing their thing. They're continuing to win. So if the Cowboys don't figure it out soon, the Giants may come back and surpass them, and then the Cowboys will end up probably being the 4th team in that particular division. Do I see that happening? I don't know. At this point, I don't know. This team is just not really a good team. They continue to struggle offensively, defensively. Let's talk about the offense side of things. Dak did not play good again. I don't know what it is with the San Francisco 49ers defense and him. He has some of the most boneheaded interceptions that you can think of. He's just not playing well. He's as simple as that. And now I get it. A lot of it has to do with they don't have a lot of talent on the team. Other than CeeDee Lamb outside, who else can you say is a staple as an offensive threat for the Cowboys? Nobody. I keep seeing in Cowboys Nation in the tea leaves, oh, Zeke is ready to roll. Look, people, it's over for Zeke. He's not the same Zeke. He's washed. I don't care how many attempts he gets. They can't block for him. He's not that elusive or powerful or fast as he once was before. This guy is not going to provide any type of value whatsoever to your offense, period. Offensive line is just shambles. The kid they drafted out of Oklahoma, he looks like he can't even block. Right? Terrence Steele is continuously getting beat. And on top of that, you know that he's not playing well. So let's just man him up against Nick Bosa, right? And not provide any help to him. So that's bad coaching as well. Defensively, I know they were out without 2 of their main edge rushers and Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, but honestly, would that have mattered much? It wouldn't have. I mean, they've lost to them even with those guys there. Donovan Wilson, what happened to this guy? I don't even know. It's like he doesn't even know how to play football anymore. Trayvon Diggs is arguing with reporters after the game, where you can clearly see in the clip he kind of made a business decision, right? He kind of reluctantly ran down there and made the tackle, which wasn't questioned by the reporter. But this team is just full of divas and egotistical, self-absorbed players where they can't even take criticism, right? Earlier in the week, Troy Aikman criticized the receivers for not running routes very crisp. Matter of fact, he said they were lazy. And then guys like Kevontae Turpin, oh, he don't know what you're talking about, basically. And then you drop essentially a a play, a ball that could have continued your drive, maybe give you a chance to win the game in the end, and he drops it on which was a really good throw by Dak, right? So this is not a good football team. This is not a good football team, and the defense is a shell of themselves. I don't know what else to do from here. Coaching sucks. Ownership is terrible, and the play on the field is abominable. So, what did we learn? It's what we already knew, and I keep telling us about the Cowboys. We're not really learning anything else other than the fact that we're learning more than the fact that they just are really bad, and it doesn't look good. I mean, they got a tough schedule up ahead. I believe they got Atlanta and a couple other divisional games here in the near future. So I don't know what to say about them anymore, but this team overall is just not playing really good football, and it's not going to get any better for them. So Dallas Cowboys fans, Cowboy Nation, you guys are going to be pretty much in depression the rest of the way for the season. All right, from one sorry team to another sorry-ass team, and that's the New York Jets. They fell on the road to New England, a game in which, if you watched a lot of NFL talk or listened to the radio, a lot of people were probably joking, oh, the Patriots might win this game, but no one really believed that. But you know what? The Jets said, you know what? Hold my beer. We're going to lose to the Patriots, right? And they did. Now, they're actually currently on a 5-game losing streak. And right now, arguably, they're probably the biggest bust of the 2024 season. You look back at all the moves that they've made recently, going back to last year, getting Aaron Rodgers, him getting hurt. Then you fast forwarding to this year, you fire your head coach, you make coaching changes with the offensive coordinator. You bring in Devontae Adams, who is really unimpactful so far in his 2 games as a New York Jet, and they can't get it done. Game management is a problem, right? They can't figure out when to call timeouts, how to call timeouts. The special teams, the kicking game is atrocious. Greg Zuerlein, especially you Cowboys fans, you guys know about him and his exploits, where huge leg, but the guy can't hit the side of Empire State Building if you needed him to, right? So no accuracy there. The defense is not what we thought it was or should be going into this year. Sauce Gardner is giving up tons of big plays, which we're not accustomed to them doing, right? For his first couple years, we're like, okay, not giving up any touchdowns, didn't give up a whole lot of touchdowns in college. Same thing, kind of trended over into the National Football League. And now this guy's giving up huge plays left and right now. And Hassan Reddick played a little bit, really didn't have any impact on that game whatsoever. Granted, he's been out the whole year. But still, this team just really isn't a good football team. Now, a lot of it could be blamed on Aaron Rodgers, rightfully so. They've pretty much made every move that he's pretty much asked for. Right. And I'll tell you this time and time again, the Jets really screwed up by making themselves beholden to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what it is. I was talking to my cousin and I was telling him, listen, Aaron Rodgers is cursed, man. I don't know what it is about the guy, but there's something about him where you look at his time, the way it ended in Green Bay, some of the situations that happened with him, between him and Matt LaFleur. And then you see what Jordan Love is doing now. It's not unprecedented to say that something he's just cursed, man. I don't know what it is, honestly. I can't even fathom what else to say. But this team is definitely not going to win this division. I thought they were going to make the playoffs. A couple of weeks ago, I had a Real or Nah where I asked, are the Jets a playoff team? Absolutely not. Absolutely not anymore. You can't beat the Patriots, and no offense to Patriots fans, but you guys really aren't a good football team either. And you lose. And now, again, it's not all on Aaron Rodgers, but I said it before, even going into last year, he is not the same guy. He's 40 years old, coming off an Achilles. He's already banged up. He has no mobility. I feel like he's just throwing the ball up there sometimes because he can't run and go get the first down like he was able to do when he was younger, about 10 years ago. So they put all their faith in this one guy, and they're no better than what they were last year with Zach Wilson and the other carousel of quarterbacks that they rolled in there last year. The Jets probably just need to trick off the rest of the season and get in the market and get another quarterback. And if Aaron Rodgers doesn't accept that, then you give him his walking papers at the end of the season and say, listen, we're going to draft a quarterback, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, cool, you can get up out of here, retire, do what you got to do. But we're not going to be beholden to you anymore because we feel like you're part of the problem. And I get it. The Jets are a dysfunctional organization anyway. But then you add Aaron Rodgers and all the things that he had been asking for. It's just a melting pot of dysfunctionality. I'm not even sure that's the word. I think it is. But either way, it sounds good. But Jeff Ulbrich, whatever you want to call him, he's in over his head too. He's not really a head coach, guys. So not only are they going to need a head coach in the offseason, they're going to need a quarterback. They got a whole bunch or plethora of issues that they need to settle going into 2025 season, because the 2024 season I think is for the most part over. The Buffalo Bills are the adults in this conference, or excuse me, in this division. Miami has a better chance of riding their ship, even though they lost recently to the Arizona Cardinals. I think they got a better shot of making the playoffs as a wild card, or he's competing or contesting the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East division. But this is the Bills division to win outright. All right, and my final, what we learned this past week in the NFL, it's official. I am officially off the Anthony Richardson train, wagon, whatever you want to call it. I was already kind of climbing out anyway. I knew what I was getting into supporting this guy. Like, I knew that he wasn't a great, accurate thrower coming out of college. He didn't have a lot of games, but I just felt that the coaching that he was going to receive from Shane Steichen, the organization that he was going to, an organization that's been proven to kind of, develop quarterbacks, especially high drafted quarterbacks. Now, they just lost recently to the Texans again. Now they're 0-2 in the season series, and the struggles for Anthony Richardson is real. I mean, he only completed 10 passes, folks. 10 passes. Now, I never played college football, never played professional football, never played quarterback, right? But I don't know, man, like his accuracy is just so terrible. And to be a quarterback, nonetheless, it's a problem. It's a problem. And if you throw for 30 times and you only complete 10 passes, I don't care what kind of coaching you're going to receive. There's nothing that you can do to help that or remedy that. And honestly, that's not even why we're even talking about this guy today. The real reason I'm talking about him is because late in the third quarter, he was scrambling around, trying to make a play. And then he pulled himself out of the game. And he got up on the podium because they asked him, well, what happened? Why'd you tap out? Were you hurt? Were you injured? He literally flat out got on that podium later on in the afternoon and said, I got tired, flat out. Now, when I heard this, I was flabbergasted. I literally said to myself, for the most part, again, I didn't play quarterback at a high level. Never played quarterback in my life. Never played football at a high level, right? Other than high school, right? But I played high school pretty well, all right? But I always thought quarterbacks from an exertion level had it the best on the field. Linemen constantly battling in the trenches, wide receivers running out, going out, running routes, running back, same thing, maybe going out for a route, getting tackled. So I can see them maybe needing a blow, right? You see like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, who's running over fools, Cam Newton back in the day, trucking guys. I don't think I've ever seen once in my life a quarterback tap himself out because he was tired. Now, let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm just too old school. But how could he do that? And once I saw that and I heard about it, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm done. You're inaccurate. You're not effective. And now it shows me you got no heart, bro. Like, you literally have no heart. How can you honestly tap yourself out? And then later on in the game, it was a close game. They only lost to 3 points. How can you go in that huddle, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, look in the huddle and look at your guys in the eyes and say, guys, hey, listen, I need everything you got. Everything you got. I know you've been blocking your behinds off all game, but I need one more out of you. Give me all of you, right? Pause. Right? And they're looking at you like, fool, you tapped out in the third quarter because you were evading a sack. Come on, man. Honestly, the Colts, I don't think Shane Steichen wants to start this fool. It's the management there. They would be this is a terrible mistake if they continue to go down this road with Anthony Richardson, point blank. He is not an NFL quarterback at this point. And I will completely agree with that. I will sign off on that, co-sign it, whatever you need me to do, folks. And I think the rest of you guys can agree with me as well. This guy is not a quarterback in the National Football League. You are better off at Joe Flacco running and leading your offense, right? And I get it. Oh, well, he's a high pick. It don't matter, man. You got to move off of this guy and move off of him quickly because they got talent, man. Josh Downs is great. They got the other kid. What's his name? I forgot his name. The other receiver there. Pittman, right? Pittman Jr. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing here? You're wasting your valuable talent and assets on a quarterback that cannot play. So what I learned this week about him is that he ain't it, and he's never going to be it. And the Colts just need to move on and continue to start Joe Flacco. Okay, we've come to my favorite segment of the show here in NFL Matchups. We're going to do a little bit of real or nah. And my first real or nah is, real or nah, the Bills will clinch the AFC East by December. Let's look at it right now. So right now there are 3 games up in the division. They are the only team with more than 2 wins in this division. Everyone else has lost a bunch. And it's not even close. The Bills are coming off of a shellacking of the Seattle Seahawks. And it looks like they're going to get even better. The acquisition of Amari Cooper is paying off dividends. It's helping out Keon Coleman. He's looking like a true stud there in Buffalo. And again, they got another great matchup against the Dolphins, which they've owned them the last couple games. So the question is, will the Bills clinch the AFC East by December? Real or not? That's a real. All right, moving on. Real or not? Did the Ravens losing to the Browns this past weekend affect their chances of winning the AFC North title? Real or not? Listen, this was a bad loss. And on top of it was a bad loss, it's to the Browns. But you got to keep this in mind. We knew when Jameis Winston got the starting job, he was going to inject life into this offense for the Cleveland Browns. And he did that. He threw for over 340-something yards, 3 touchdowns, yada, 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 right? Better than Deshaun Watson has ever played in one game, okay? AFC North is a tough division. The Steelers are what they are at this point. Offensively, if they can get things consistently going with Russell Wilson, they're going to be tough. The Bengals, although they lost, when healthy, they can compete with the Ravens. We've seen that. They lost an overtime game to the Ravens not that long ago, too. So the Ravens have been pushed to the brink by these teams in their own division. And not to mention, the Steelers have beaten the Ravens, I want to say, 6 out of the last 7 times they played. So it's a competitive division. The good thing going for the Ravens is that they still have Lamar Jackson and they got Derrick Henry. And they're playing pretty solid right there. So did this a loss affect their chances of winning the AFC North title, real or not? I'm going to say nah. And my final real or nah, is Jayden Daniels the best quarterback in the NFC East? Let's take a look at it. So right now, in the last, 7 games, he's thrown for 1,700 yards, 8.5 yards per attempt, and a passer rating of 104.3. And they got the best record in the division. And he is playing phenomenal. I think Jalen Hurts has a chance. I think he's maybe turning things around. However, though, he's still relying a lot on Saquon Barkley. And you look at Dak. Dak is not playing good football at all. I believe he's at 8 interceptions so far this year. Not making those plays that he needs to make down the field, and just constantly turning the ball over. And then there's Daniel Jones. I said then like a little car, right? Then there's Daniel Jones. He isn't good at all. He'll give you a glimpse here and there, but you can't be fooled by him. So is it fair to say, real or not, is Jayden Daniels the best quarterback in the NFC East currently today? Not projecting the future, because some of you idiots will come in the comment section and say, oh, it's hyperbole. Like, the kid can play. So yes, this is real. He is the best quarterback in the division right now, current year to date. And to me, there's no argument to be made about that. And if you do want to argue about it, please drop a comment in there and we can discuss this, because I want to hear your facts or where you're coming from, because right now, arguably, he is the best quarterback, not only in the NFC East, but in the NFC overall, the way he's playing. All right, before we wrap up the show, let's talk about some fantasy impact players this week going into week 9 for your fantasy teams here. I want to start at the quarterback position, honestly. Trevor Lawrence really played fantastic this past weekend. Threw for 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, the only concern with him, if you do have him on your team, is that it's going to be relying upon the health of Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk, guys suffering injuries at this point. But he's still worth a start if you need him to go in there for him, because he's steadily improving over the last couple games, right? We've seen that, right? Now he started off not too hot, but he's gotten kind of hot here in the last couple weeks, so he's definitely worth the start. Next guy is Braylon Allen for the New York Jets. Now, I get it. Jets are not a good football team, but if you need him, and I think Breece Hall may miss some time, perhaps, maybe. And if he does, Braylon Allen's going to get a lot of touches, and they need to continue running the ball with him. So if you do have him on your bench, you may want to inject him in there. I'm not going to say he's going to go out and just go crazy because he still has to share a backfield. But for whatever reason, if Breece Hall does miss some time, I think Braylon Hall might be a guy that you want to slide in there for yourself. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. We all know what he did this past weekend in fantasy. He scored 28 points. 28 points, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns this past weekend over the Ravens. With Jameson Winston in the lineup, it makes his chances a whole lot better. Now, I know a lot of Jerry Jeudy fans out there probably say, oh, well, Jerry Judy's still a guy. No, he's not. This guy's going to be the guy that they're going to be going to a lot more than Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy just has not lived up to his potential, whether it was from Denver or coming over to Cleveland. So I really like Cedric Tillman. If you do have him, you better continue to start him and keep him in your lineup. Elijah Moore, another receiver from the Cleveland Browns, also benefiting from Jameis Winston pushing the ball down the field. He caught 8 passes, and he got targeted 12 times this past weekend. So that's good. 12 targets is a lot. So you want to kind of continue to see that as they move on week to week, as Jameis gets kind of more comfortable with the offense. So he's definitely worth considering if he's available out there, especially in the free agency or maybe a possible trade before the trade deadline hits. And then Keon Coleman. 2 games in a row now where he's looking pretty good. This week, he got 5 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown over Seattle. I think having Amari Cooper on the other side really helps him open up the field. He's not a burner. He's not going to beat you fast, but he's a big body out there. He's a good goal line, red zone threat down there. He's hard to take down, super athletic. Former basketball player, actually, from Michigan State when he was there. So definitely a guy that you want to consider if you have him. Please start him this past week. And as far as the last pass catchers, Mike Gesicki, tight end from the Cincinnati Bengals, with T. Higgins being absent. I'm not sure of his status going into this week. I think Gesicki will probably get a little bit more targets from Joe Burrow. He caught seven passes on 8 targets this past week against the Eagles for 73 yards. So definitely a guy that you might want to kind of consider out there if you're in a pinch for a tight end, if you can go out and get him, or if you have him on your team, go ahead and start him. So there you have it. Those are my fantasy impacts this week going into week 9. Check them out. All right, let's get into my week 9 preview and predictions here on NFL matchups. And we're going to start off with Thursday Night Football. This is a big matchup, I would say, for both teams. We got the news that Stephon Diggs is out for the year, torn ACL. Nico Collins, I believe, is still out. He's on the IR for the Texans as well. And then the Jets, coming off of an atrocious loss last week in week 8 to the Patriots on the road. They've dropped their last 5 games. Texans looking to kind of stay afloat, honestly. They still have the talent. They're sitting at 6-2. Arguably, this is a game that they should win. I mean, they should win this game nonetheless. But injuries are a concern for me, for the Texans. But just the sheer fact that the Jets are just not really a good football team, the Texans should win this game. And rightfully so. They're going to have to really call upon Joe Mixon, which I honestly, going into the season, when they picked him up, I thought this was a key addition to this squad because they haven't had a running back like that in quite some time, probably not since Arian Foster, right? And that's going back a ways. So he definitely brings another gear. This week it's going to be receiver by committee. I think Tank Dell is the next leading wide receiver on this Texans team, then followed by Robert Woods until Nico Collins can come back. But with all that said, although the Jets do have talent, you got Devontae Adams, you got Garrett Wilson, they just haven't lived up to the expectations of this year and in 2024. So I'm going to take the Texans to still win this game, even though I believe they're traveling. I think they are on the road for this game, but I'm going to take the Texans in this game to open up the week here. So book it right there, Texans. All right, moving right along. Let's see here. Let's talk about the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, this is a big matchup too. I will say, Ravens just added Deontay Johnson, which is a huge get. What does that mean fantasy-wise for Zay Flowers? This depends, right? Yeah, Deontay Johnson, he's coming onto this team. He was formerly the number 1 wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. He's now going to be the number 2 behind Zay Flowers, presumably. But the running game is the focus for this squad. Now, this is going to be a good matchup because offensively, The Ravens are really good, and defensively, the Broncos are just as good, if not better, right? Honestly, right, and that's debatable, right? But the Broncos coming into this game, Bo Nix has been playing phenomenal football the last couple of weeks. Granted, they just played the Carolina Panthers, so anyone's beating them at this point. Ravens coming off of a kind of a disappointing loss to the Cleveland Browns, a divisional game which they probably should have had, but I think this is going to be a close scoring affair, excuse me. But just give me the Ravens. I think in the end they have the better quarterback. They'll have the better running game, but I would suggest that this game would probably be under if I was to bet this game, but I'm going to take the Ravens in this game. All right, let's go back up here. I'm kind of going all over the place, but let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Atlanta Falcons here. Cowboys coming off of another loss, a game in which that they were just superior, or excuse me, they were out superiored by the 49ers. Now, early on in the game, the Cowboys looked decent. They did put together a pretty good drive that resulted in a touchdown by Ezekiel Elliott. It was a really long, sustaining drive, but in the end, they just didn't have the pieces, and they got outcoached in the second half. Defensively, this team is still worse. It hasn't gotten any better. Still, I believe they're still going to probably be without Micah Parsons maybe one more week. And even if he does come back, how healthy will he be? Right, DeMarcus Lawrence is still out, so they're still missing some key guys there on their ends there on the defensive line. Atlanta, what can I say about Atlanta? They're right now sitting atop of the NFC South after beating their division foes and sweeping the division series against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Every week, it seems like they're finding a way to incorporate more guys on the offense, and Kirk Cousins looking more and more comfortable. But with that said, I don't have any faith in the Dallas Cowboys whatsoever. This is not a good football team. They don't do anything. What's one thing you can really hang your hat on for the Dallas Cowboys? Nothing other than losing, maybe the kicking game and Brandon Aubrey. But other than that, I'm going to take the Falcons to win this game rather comfortably, I would say. So I'm going to take the Falcons in that game there. All right. Let's take a look at the Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Amari Cooper has been really solid pickup for them. It's really helped out rookie wideout out of Florida State, Keon Coleman. He's really matured the last couple weeks, at least since Amari Cooper has been here. We've always seen or known that he has the talent, the skill set to be a pretty solid wide receiver in the National Football League. And with Amari Cooper out there, it's really helping him get some separation or being incorporated in the offense in a different manner. James Cook is running the ball well. Josh Allen's playing really good football. And the Bills, to me, are the only team in the AFC East, like I said before, that has more wins, more than 2 wins in the division. The rest of the teams are pretty much garbage. The Dolphins did get Tua back, so that's a positive sign for them. But I don't think it'll be enough, as the Dolphins have to travel up north to Orchard Park to take on the Bills. I don't know what the weather's going to be like that game. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section what the weather temperature is going to be like. If it's cold, you already know the Dolphins ain't going to do well, and Tua is not going to do well. So I'm going to take the Bills in this one. I pretty much, they win this game, they're going to pretty much wrap up this division. I know earlier I said they'll be done by December. They may be done by middle of November, wrapping up this division the way everything is shaking out. So I like the Bills in this particular matchup. Okay, we got we got Saints and Carolina. I don't know, man. Like, these two teams played already before. The Saints destroyed Carolina. I believe it was week 1, if I'm not mistaken. But the Saints have really gone down a different road since winning that week 1 matchup against the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers haven't gotten much better either. And on top of that, they just traded away their best offensive player, arguably, in Deontay Johnson. Bryce Young, I believe, is still the starting quarterback, at least as far as we know this week. They are at home. This one is a tough one. The Saints, I believe, I think Derek Carr is still out, if I'm not mistaken. But the Saints should win this game still. I mean, realistically, I'm not going to say they're better coached, because they're not. But Derek Carr is questionable, so there's a good chance he may play. They need to. Dennis Allen is on his last leg here. I think if he continues to lose 1 or 2 more games, he may be the next coach that's relieved of his duties. But again, there's still something missing with them. I honestly thought their offense was going to be a lot more legit, but then again, you look at who they played the first 2 weeks. Dallas's defense, which we know is trash, and Carolina, we know isn't a really good football team in itself. So maybe we kind of got a little bit overzealous, and I'm including myself, right? I was on that train thinking that the Saints had figured out something. But in all respect to them, you better go out and win this game. They're still the better team overall at this point. But I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm going to ride with them. I think it'll be a close divisional game. I think the Carolina Panthers will make it a fight. But overall, I think in the end, the Saints will prevail overall. And so that's why, therefore, I'm taking the Saints in this matchup. All right, we got the Raiders and Bengals here. Raiders and Bengals. Raiders coming off another home loss, this time at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs, who will remain undefeated here in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. They have not lost in that stadium since its conception, and they continue that anyway. But now they got the Bengals. They got to travel. They got to head over to to Ohio, since Cincinnati, Ohio, and take on the Bengals, who are a better football team. Not much better, though, I would say. Only the difference is that their quarterback plays better. The Raiders still cannot figure out who's going to be their quarterback. I mean, they threw Gardner Minshew back in the mix. Why? Because Aiden O'Connell got hurt. They go and signed Desmond Ridder off the practice squad for the Arizona Cardinals. I think he got a snap or two in this last game, only because I think Gardner Minshew needed to come out. But defensively, this team, I'm talking about the Raiders in itself, they're not really good. They're damn near to last in almost every defensive statistical category there. And offensively, they don't have an identity. They don't know when to run the football. They don't know when to pass the football. And they continue to turn the ball over with Gardner Minshew. And they can't make any type of real vertical plays. So therefore, I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals only because they got Jamar Chase. You still got Joe Burrow. They're still not a great team, but they should be better than the Las Vegas Raiders to win this matchup. So therefore, I am taking the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game. All right, moving right along. Let's look at the Chargers and the Browns. Very interesting game here. If Deshaun Watson was still the quarterback for the Browns, I would easily say the Chargers will win this game. But Jameis Winston, in his first start as a Cleveland Brown, really showed up and showed out. He threw over 330-something yards for 3 touchdowns. He spread the ball pretty well, right? Cedric Tillman was obviously getting a lot of the love there. I believe he had, 2 touchdowns in that game, a surprising win over the Baltimore Ravens. And now you have the LA Chargers coming into town. Justin Herbert really doing a lot with nothing, right? If you look at their wide receiving core, Ladd McConkey, I forgot the name of their tight end, Disley, I believe his name is, Will Disley. Who was another wide receiver they got there? I can't even name. I think Josh Palmer, if he's still there. They don't really put a lot of fear in anyone's secondary. I will say this about Ladd McConkey, though. He's a pretty good player. And Justin Herbert in this last game, if you go back and look at some of the throws that he made under duress, plays that when the ball was snapped, play was done. Guys recovered, but he still found a way to get these guys the ball. This is a tough spot. I think the Browns got a little bit more life injected in them, especially after that really big win against Baltimore. I think the Chargers are a better coached team. But just the fact that the Browns are at home, I think for some reason, I'm just going to go with the Cleveland Browns in a close one here. If you look at the lines, it's -2 Chargers, but I'm going to take the home underdogs here, and I'm going to roll with the Cleveland Browns. It's not a slight to the Chargers. If they were at home, I would probably easily take them. But I think there is something to say about the Jameis Winston effect for however long it's going to last, because it won't last for long. It's going to burn quick. It's going to burn bright, but it's going to burn very quick. And this may be one of the last 1 or 2 games where we kind of get some magic out of him. So I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns to win this game in an upset. All right, we got the New York Football Giants taking on the miraculous come from behind winners, the Washington Commanders, who completed that crazy Hail Mary pass to beat the Chicago Bears with no time remaining, with some help by the safety number 29 for Chicago Bears. I think his name is Tyreek Stevenson. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they got a divisional rival. They got to go on the road. They're going to play the Giants. Giants not a good football team, coming off a loss on Monday Night Football, where a lot of it too is Daniel Jones, but they're just not a good football team. Commanders to me are a better football team overall. So for me, this is a no-brainer. I know Jayden Daniels is dealing with some type of injury to his abdomen or oblique somewhere. But he seemed okay Sunday, so I'm going to go ahead and take them anyway. He's just the better quarterback. He's the best quarterback in the NFC East. So with that said, I'm going to take the Washington Commanders to win this one. All right, we got the Tennessee Titans at home taking on the New England Patriots. New England Patriots coming off a very surprise. This is their second surprising win. At least there are only 2 wins, but the week 1 against the Bengals, and then last week 8 against the New York Jets, a team that they had gotten blown out a couple weeks ago in week 2, but they get the win. Now they got to go on the road. They pack up their talents and take it to Nashville, Tennessee to take on the Titans. I don't know who the quarterback will be for Tennessee right now. I believe it's still Mason Rudolph. If you're a Titans fan, it's probably better than having Will Levis at starting quarterback. So Drake May did leave the game, I believe, for New England with an injury, but I think he'll be good to go this week. But the Patriots, to me, really don't have any offense whatsoever. The Titans won't really be having any. They still have Calvin Ridley. This if you want to look for a snoozer, a low-scoring event, this is probably the matchup that you want to see. Both teams statistically, offensively, do not rank very high. They're identical almost in stats comparison. So with that said, I'm going to go at Tennessee just because they're at home. I think Mason Rudolph might give them a slight edge, but honestly, this was a tough one to pick. I believe the line on this game was -3.5 Tennessee. Probably about right. But I'm just going to take Tennessee because I don't think the Patriots have enough scoring. But I will say this, Drake May, if he does play, which I think he should, has shown some promise in some of the plays that he's made. But for some reason, I'm just going to go with Tennessee in this matchup here. All right, we got Chicago Bears taking on the surprising Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, I believe, are number 1 in the NFC West at this point. Bears coming off of a very brutal loss this past Sunday against the Washington Commanders. We've all seen the highlights there, the Hail Mary from heaven there. Arizona at home, which they're pretty solid at home. I mean, that home crowd gets behind them. Kyler Murray will make a play here or there. I do like the Bears' chances because defensively they're really good. If you watch that Commanders game, I wouldn't say they held Jayden Daniels in check, but it was a low-scoring game up until the very end. Their offense just couldn't get going. Caleb Williams kind of, I wouldn't say he regressed, but he the last time we saw him, he was just balling, right? And then last week, we didn't really see too much out of him. But I'm going to take the Bears only because their defense is better than Arizona's defense. And I think if they get anything going at all offensively, that might just be enough. I think it's going to be it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be one of those games if whoever has the last will win. And I believe it'll be the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to take them as the road underdog to get the win if they want to kind of stay in the hunt there in the NFC North. So I'm going to take the Bears to win that game over the Cardinals. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars heading to the city of brotherly love to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles riding high after a pretty good win last week. Jalen Hurts looked pretty solid. The rest of the team looked pretty good. Jacksonville, not so much, I would say, but Jacksonville is fighting. I will give them that. Do they have a chance? I think they do. But this is an opportunity for the Eagles to kind of set the record straight that they are not an inconsistent team. They can protect the football, they can play defense, and they can get after it offensively. So I do like that in that regard. Jalen Hurts maybe turning the page there. He kind of struggled early on in this year, but they are the better football team, and I think they should win this game. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this one because I think they really want to come out and tell everyone, like, hey, we're still here. We're one of the better teams in the NFC conference. Yeah, we've struggled out the gates a little bit. Yeah, we've had some issues with the coaching, but we are still one of the more talented teams. And they are. On paper, they're one of the most talented teams in the NFC. So I think they will continue that trend over the Jacksonville Jaguars, who honestly, it's pretty remarkable that Doug Peterson hasn't been fired yet. But I think after this game, there may be I think the what you call it, I can't even think of it. The masses will be calling for his head, which I'm pretty sure he's aware of anyway, but I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. All right, we got Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers, probably one of the biggest matchups of the day or of the week, I would say. The Lions coming off of a dominating performance against Tennessee. Packers, pretty good win in their own regard there. Or were they on a bye week? They might have been on a bye week. I forgot exactly where they were at. But still, they're sitting at 6-2. The Lions at 6-1. This is, again, another matchup for the Lions, who they handled another good test the week before against Minnesota. So they have another test on the road again for them in the North. So they're going to take on the Packers. Really, the Lions are playing really great at all phases of the game. Special teams, we saw what Khalil Raymond did last week against Tennessee in the punt game. Offensively, they're still running the ball. They're still distributing the ball. Jared Goff protecting that football. Defensively, even without, and I'm not saying that they won't miss him, but even without Aiden Hutchinson, they're still finding a way. And granted, they did play the Tennessee Titans, but overall, I think that this team is the best team in the NFC for sure. Packers, to me, still start a little bit slow to my liking, whereas I think the Lions will jump on it quick. And honestly, they've really proven me wrong. I thought they might have hit a slump, but they really look solid. Other than that loss to Tampa earlier in the year, this team has looked really, really solid. So it's going to be a close game. It's going to be, again, one of those games where whoever has the ball last might win this game, but I'm going to go with the Lions to win this game and really claim the throne there, the NFC North. So I'm going to go with the Lions there. I got LA Rams and Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks, really, I'm listen. I tried to give them chances. I kind of knew a couple weeks ago that I think I had on my NFL Sunday wake up show, I had a contender type of list, and they were definitely a pretender, and they are. I get it. Geno Smith is thrown for a remarkable amount of yards, yada yada yada. But this team, they're good, but they're not good enough, and their record is 4-4. You are what your record is for the most part. They can't beat any of the top tier teams, and they got a tough one. This is a divisional game, and the Rams are getting healthier. Matthew Stafford has got his two best targets back, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, who was on the trade block. I don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest with you. I think the Rams look at it as like, you know what, maybe we can make a run. Like, this division is still wide open. I mean, I believe the Cardinals at number 1, and they're sitting at 4-4. Right, Seattle's at 4-4, and I believe the 49ers, if I'm not mistaken, are sitting at like 3-4 too at this point. So it's definitely a winnable division. Sean McVay is a talented coach, right? So there's no reason why I don't think that the Rams can't go into Seattle. Now, it is tough to play there, but the only good thing good for them is that most of these players have played there. They know what it's like playing there. So I like the Rams in an upset to win this game. I mean, I don't think Seattle really has a true identity other than the fact that they just want to throw the football. I guess that is part of their identity, but sometimes you got to run the football too. But I like the Rams to win this game. I think they're the better coach team. Something is missing from Seattle, though. I just don't know what it is, but something definitely is. So I'm going to take the Rams in this one. All right. We got the Sunday night matchup. Colts taking on the Vikings. And we all know Anthony Richardson has been benched. So step in Joe Flacco against Minnesota, who struggled the last 2 weeks. They lost to Detroit, then they go on the road and lose to the Rams. I don't know, man, what's going on with this team. Now, I don't think this is going to be a cakewalk. I think Joe Flacco does present an opportunity here for the Colts to to maybe steal a win. Is it fathomable that the Vikings will drop 3 in a row? It's not impossible, right? Is it improbable? Yeah, not so much. I think they can lose this game. Defense really hasn't looked good the last 2 games, which we were praising Brian Flores. Right now, PFF, Pro Football Focus, has them ranked as the 22nd overall ranked defense, right? That's crazy. Whereas the Colts are 21st. Offensively, they can still move the ball. That's their saving grace, I would say, right now, until this defense can kind of get back in line here. They are favored at home. I'm still going to take them at home. I don't see them losing 3 games in a row. Although I do like Joe Flacco. I do like what he represents. I think he's a very proficient and efficient veteran, better than Anthony Richardson. If Anthony Richardson was starting this game, easily this would have been the Vikings. I think it's going to be a closer affair, but I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game for Sunday Night Football. And then rounding out the week, you got the defending champs, 7-0 at home at Arrowhead, taking on a depleted Tampa Bay roster. Mike Evans, I believe, is still out, will be still out. Chris Godwin is still on the IR. So you got a bunch of guys like Jayden McMillan, Cade Otton, who I love. I love this guy for fantasy purposes. He's going to see a lot of targets. Listen, there's no surprise here that the Chiefs have not looked great. They have not looked great, but they still find ways to win. If this game was on the road, I would say it might be a little bit tougher, but I still think their defense is still good enough to slow down Tampa Bay. And maybe, another week with DeAndre Hopkins back in the building, getting some more reps with the ones, he might get a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to stay undefeated and be 8-0 after defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this game will be a little bit more spirited, only because a lot of the Chiefs games have been relatively close. So don't expect like a barn burner here, but I think they'll do just enough to win this game and remain undefeated for this week. So there you have it there. So, all right, those are my preview and predictions for week 9 here on NFL matchups. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. There you have it. That's all the time I have left for this episode here on NFL matchups. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Make sure if you haven't already, again, subscribe to the Grid Network channel and make sure you like and comment. Until next week, I'll see you guys. This is your boy, Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk. Never settle till the work is done. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.